a Nyeri court ruling that women should be allowed to own property, to inherit their parents. I'm just wondering, where do you stand with that, what the judiciary has said vis-a-vis what the customary laws of Kenyan ethnic communities say?
I wouldn't want to look at it as women. I want to look at it as my daughter. What rights would my daughter have over my property? And I believe that my daughter has equal rights to my son over my property. So to me, it's not a big deal. There is a cultural context from where we are coming.
Rights of daughters to inherit their parents.
I have more daughters than sons. And therefore, I'm better placed than my colleagues here in making an objective comment about this. We want to advise our judges. We love their English and we love their deep understanding of the law. But they must know that culture is not something that you can take for granted. Culture is even a greater law than some of the pronouncements they make from the bench. Our communities are organized sometimes better by culture than by rulings of the court. Do you know, in Luoland and Luyaland, if a woman who has come of age, and by that I mean a girl over 18 who is expected to be married, if she was to die before she marries, she cannot be married, she cannot be buried in the father's home in Luoland. She's buried outside the home state. In Luyaland, she cannot be buried in the center of the home state. She's buried on the hedge.
So is it possible for your daughters?
Relax. Yeah. That applies to, will apply to my daughters. Yeah, it will apply to my daughters. So because these things are already provided for, when our good judges are making those pronouncements, they should always reflect on the law. I want to urge members of parliament to also help the judges this way. In operationalization of the provisions of the Constitution on culture, you need to put an act of parliament that is more elaborative so that it helps them on the interface between culture na hii mambo ya Nairobi.
Okay.
So he just said he'll disinherit the daughter.
Yes, that's what he has said. His many daughters
cannot inherit you.
My daughters,
my
daughters will get, if I have anything, will get some of it. But when it comes to land, my daughters will get their share where they'll be married.
Okay.
They will not compete with
you
my
have the
sons.
final word. Let's hear from Senator Wamata.
Yes, you wanted her to have the final word so that she can overwrite everything.
Which is okay. Just
no, anyway, just two quick thoughts. First, when you think about what Khalwale is speaking about, you may want to ask yourself, and this is soberly, why did our constitution makers think of introducing the aspect of accommodating the Kathi's court when it comes to matters affecting probably the Muslim community and their cultures, such that where there are major particular cultural differences, then you have a reference to a Kathi's court in some of these. I'm referring to what Senator Khalwale is saying. And then you'll be asking yourself, wouldn't it probably in some of those areas where there is a lot of cultural conflict with provisions of modern law? Because if you ask me as Wamatangi and where I come from, definitely my daughter and my sons will, for that matter, be beneficiary of that modern day thinking. You know, I mean, I have no problem with that kind of arrangement. But Sam, ask yourself, since we started the fight for FGM, how far have we gone with it? Since the time when we started the fight for early childhood marriage, early girls' marriage, in some cultural communities, how far have we gone with it? We have had some cases, for example, it's recent, where you find that girls actually are reported to be running away to Uganda to go and undergo FGM and then come back here. So what I'm asking is, would we have a better approach using that Kathi's court constitutional paradigm whereby you look at the most frictional areas and ask, would you have a middle ground? I'm not talking about that there would be middle ground about FGM. I'm saying a middle ground probably about aspects like, cultural implications about inheritance and so on. Okay. What would be the middle ground to mitigate where cultures have taken such a deep root? I think it would be a point to look at.
Okay, finally, Rosa.
I'd just like to say that the Constitution is so elaborative on the Bill of Rights, where it states that regardless of your sex or regardless of your gender, we are all equal. And in the recent past, we've seen that roles have changed, or there's a transformation in roles. Women have taken up roles that probably they never used to have before. You find that in many homesteads, women actually take care of their parents, take care of the other siblings, and actually actively participate in roles that were traditionally preserved for the men. Yeah, so what this actually does is it recognizes the part that the women play in society. And we also know that the Constitution is also very clear that where cultural beliefs or any other subsidiary law is in conflict with the Constitution is supreme. And therefore, if there is anything that bars a woman, for example, from inheriting the father's property or land just because or the mother's, just because of her sex, then the Constitution is supreme. Those children are equal and they have equal opportunity to inheritance.
But some maybe where I would want us to declare the issue really is not about whether
equality of children.
It's the equality of not even the children, whether it is the sex of the children. Actually, the context of what was discussed was about married women. You know, and I think that's why it was coming in when a woman is married, and then are they going to inherit from this other side?
Don't cease to
but on that question of whether it's about the sex of the child, whether it's a girl or a boy, I don't even think that provides a big issue. Even in most cultures, even in the Bonnie Khalwale scenario, I mean, if his daughter probably is unmarried and still remains with him, he says that we inherit him. I think some of those areas that become frictional is when other circumstances like marriage come in, and that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's where we would be asking ourselves: Are we going to accommodate some cultural?
I can't.
That's why I said. That's why I said, Roya. That's why I said, Rosa. Probably it would be better to look at a hybrid approach. Would we be looking at how to mitigate that constitutionally?
This discussion will continue after the break, but
it will go into the referendum.
Amanda